Man, this is about to be a tough video to make. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of our sports talk videos where we upload once a week, talk about sports. Special video today because I'm making a video I didn't expect to make today, which is talking about the U.S. women's national team losing. I just woke up from a nap, so might be a little slow on responding in general. Man, that was a rough game, and it's not a rough game in the sense of they didn't do well, and they can ignore the score, ignore the haters, but they played their hearts out. People won't get that credit because the internet doesn't work that way. The internet works in a way of always being hateful, always being negative, and things like that. And if you watch that game, they tried. The team was trying, like, for the most part. I would say 10 people were trying. And they were constantly getting scoring chances. Sweden, give her all the credit. Sweden's goalkeeper was amazing. Like, that game could have easily been a 4-0 game. Like, there was at least 4 chances there where you could realistically say the US could have scored and didn't. They had 22 shots, 11 of those shots were on goal, and she was just really good. And the US was trying. Like I said, the US was really trying, and they just couldn't get one in the net. Went to penalties. Alyssa Nair did really good. She also scored herself. Then Rapinoe, she whiffed. Sophia Smith whiffed. You got to feel for them because the game's gonna be, when it comes to fans, they're gonna put it on them. They're gonna put it on just those two individuals themselves, and not the fact that we just went up against a keeper who's having a career game. Like Sweden's netminder was having a career game in that game. And like I said, there's 10 people who I feel like put their heart into it, and I think the 11th person also put their heart into it, but she didn't have a good game, and that's why I wouldn't count her. But I do know it's not fair for me not to count her, which is Alex Morgan. Sorry about my voice. I went to sleep emotional. When the game ended, cried. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. To be honest with you, I cried. The game ended. Stopped for a little bit. They showed the team again. Sofia Huerta was crying was crying. Meets me crying again. It was a very emotional thing. I love this team. Anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I love this team. I'm always talking about women's soccer on Twitter. I'm always talking about individual players. And it's my favorite sport. Not just soccer, but women's soccer is my favorite sport. And this team, these players, like, I'm emotionally invested in them. Emotionally invested into this game. All of them. Like, there is no one on this team who I dislike. I'm an Alex Morgan fan. I'm a Megan Rapinoe fan. I'm a Huerta fan. I'm an Emily Fox fan. I'm an Andy Sullivan fan. I've been sitting here defending her. People kept giving her lip and whatnot. I'm a fan of all of them, and it was just hard to watch that because it's like they try so hard. And you compare that game versus the game against Portugal. They were trying their best. It was night and day. The game against Portugal was very sloppy. It was like the game against Sweden. Like, the passes were great. Everyone, for the most part, was doing good, with the exception of Alex Morgan, who was just kind of just, I don't know. I don't want to use the term out of form, but she seems like she was kind of all over the place. Her shots weren't very good. She had, like, close towards the end before she got taken off, she did have a good chance, but outside of that, it was just, it wasn't a good game for Alex Morgan. Then you have Vlatko once again, just not having showing himself as a good leader, or as a good manager, or as a good coach. He did one sub towards the end, towards like the end of the game, where he took out, I want to say he took out Morgan for Rapinoe. I want to say that was the first sub. No, he took out Rotman for Lynn Williams. That was the first sub. And that's not a bad sub. Rotman's having a good game. You do want Lynn Williams out there, but I think every other coach on the planet would have took out Alex Morgan for Lynn Williams instead of Rotman. But for whatever reason, Blanco, he wants to the last second, he wants to see if she can do something, if she can pull for hero play, because she's starting the team, and she didn't. So you gotta have the courage as a coach to take out a star player, or someone who can actually go out there and get the job done. Then he waited forever. We didn't get another sub until, I want to say, like the 90th minute, maybe not even that. I don't know when he finally decided. It was closer toward, I don't know if it was the 90th minute or it was like the first stoppage time, where Blacko finally decided to do another sub, and that's when he took out Morgan for Rapinoe, which wasn't really the best decision, because Rapinoe has been doing good, and when she went out there, she had 2 really bad corners, she had a really bad throw in, and it was just okay. So what's the point here? You could have easily used Alyssa Thompson. Like, you could have put her in for Morgan at that point, get that bolt of energy, and then towards the end of the second half of stoppage time, of extra time, he subbed in Kelly O'Hara and Christy Mewis, which is great. We're finally getting to see Mewy. Mewy hasn't played at all during this tournament, and he put him in with the last minute, not like the last 10, the last minute of the second extra time. It was like, okay, and it was just rough. That was a rough game, and he didn't do good. Yeah. So let's look at the ratings, and we'll talk about the ratings. All right. So here's the ratings for the game. Listener got a 10, deserving. She was amazing. She was, all the attention is going to go to Sweden's goalkeeper because she had such an insane game. Sweden didn't even have that many chances. I wish I had it pulled up. Let me pull it up. We can do this together. Yeah, I think for for majority of the game, they had like maybe 1 or 2 chances on goal the entire game. So the U.S. entire defense was like doing really, really good. And whenever Sweden did get a shot, yeah, they had 1 shot on goal the entire game. 120 minutes and 1 shot, not attempts. The U.S. backline was doing very good. Listen there, when the ball came near her, she did amazing. So definitely deserves the 10. She had a good save when it came to the pens, and again, she scored her own penalty, which again, your goalie scored a penalty, but 2 of your star players didn't. But again, I do feel like people, especially Rapinoe, people are going to give her so much shit because she's the most vocal person on the team when it comes to social justice and the equal pay stuff, like all of that. There's people who are waiting for the U.S. I saw on Twitter, there's people who are waiting for the U.S. team to fail so they can talk shit about the team and talk shit about the players, especially talk shit about Rapinoe, and it's ridiculous. Emily Fox got a 7. I feel like that's a little unfair, fair for her. I think she definitely deserves like at least an 8 and 8.5. Emily Fox has been very, very good this tournament. She's very underrated. I don't know what they wanted her to do. I guess towards like the end, you could say she was a little tired, but I wouldn't say that her being tired towards the end of the game would be, something you knock points off of, because that's something that the manager should see that his player is tired, and take them off at that point, which is what it is. So I think she deserves an 8. Vermeer was amazing. She deserves a 9 at the very least. Julie Ertz, 7.5 is fair. She did good, but she has some really sloppy defensive decisions as well. There was some bad whiffs on some free kicks. Dunn, I would say 8. 7, it's fair, but I'd say 8. She was mostly defense this game. I said before in the last video we did for sports that Crystal Dunn is kind of a box to box defender. She plays that Pep Guardiola style, Barcelona style of a left back, where on defense they're locking it down, but on offense they're getting in there, creating some chances. She didn't really do any of that this game when it comes to creating chances and getting on the offensive side. Probably a decision from Vlatko to slow her down on that. But overall, she had a good game. Sullivan, I'll say also is an 8. She had a pretty good game. Her and Sonnet were doing really, really good. They had a great game. Horan 8. I feel like that's fair. She had a lot of good chances. Like there was, again, a lot of the chances that we had were Lindsay Horan, Sophie Smith. Rodman was, she had some really good chances. When Linda came on, she had a good chance, but Lindsay had some really close ones. She was, yeah, I say 8 is fair. Emily Sonnet, great game. 8.5 is fair. I still think Sullivan is pretty much equal to her in terms of how good they both performed. Yeah, it was a good game for them. Rodman got a 7. Rodman should at least have an 8.5. Morgan had a 7. 5 maybe would be what I would give her. We just had a World Cup tournament where Alex Morgan didn't get a single goal. But that's sinking. Smith 7, that's fair. I feel like Smith was just a little bit behind Rodman, who I said she get at least an 8 or 9, somewhere between that range. So I think a 7. If I was to give Rodman a 8, 7 for Smith would be fair. So too, Williams, she had a great game. Only played 54 minutes, which is, you know, a good amount of time. She came in. The sub for her was good timing, just the wrong player. They should have took up Morgan instead of freaking Robin. You know, 5. I agree. I think 5 is definitely a fair one. It was not just like they're going to highlight the missed penalty, but it was like there's some bad crosses that she did. Christy only played 7 minutes, not 7 minutes, only played 1 minute. I feel like so they gave her a 7. I feel like 1 minute for her and Kelly isn't enough time to give them any kind of you know, chance. She missed her corner, not corner, her penalty kicks. I feel like that's probably what I gave her for. I feel like, oh, she missed her penalty kicks, a 5. She missed her freaking. She made her. He made hers, so she gets a 7. I feel like neither of them played long enough to rightfully give them a score. If you are going to give them, you know, a credit for making a penalty and it's a penalty, then sure. Flacco got a 5. Flacco should got a 4. Oh, all right. Well, that's pretty much all the recap coach I want to do. I don't know what's next. I think Flacco's going to lose his job for, I don't know for a fact. Like I said on Twitter, I promise you he's going to lose his job. Within the next couple weeks, we're going to hear that he's going to step down or he's going to be fired. That's just guaranteed. Rapinoe is retiring, so we won't experience her and we'll have her around again. You know, so it's rough that Legend Rapinoe ends on that game. I'd imagine Listen there probably also won't be back when it comes to the World Cup, which isn't because she had a great game, but I imagine you know with her age and her experience, they might move on to like Kingsbury or someone else in net. Morgan, I feel like this might have actually been Morgan's last World Cup, not in the sense of her age, but I feel like she just doesn't have it anymore, and she can prove me wrong. I hope she does. I feel like she just doesn't have it anymore. And I feel like, you know, it's time to move on and let Sophie Smith and Lynn Williams and Alyssa Thompson and Trinity Rodman lead that front. You know, you can argue that Ashley Hatch probably should have been picked over Morgan, but because of star power, they chose Morgan over Hatch. We didn't really see a lot of Ashley Sanchez, which we should have. We didn't really see a lot of Fana DeMello other than that one game. We should have seen some more of her. Like we should have been more active in our substitutions. We probably would have been able to see what those people could have done. But anyways, with all that said, if this video, thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Do all these algorithm likes. Follow your boy on Twitter. Follow me on is it still called Twitter? We could just call it X. I don't know. I'm mentally exhausted. Mentally, I'm. I said I've been boohooing. Yeah, do all things algorithm likes. I'll get you guys in the next video. Follow me on Twitch. Link in the box below. If you want to watch Boulder Gate, my main channel, we do a Boulder Gate Let's Play. Come over there, hang out, watch Boulder Gate's gameplay. Being boy, y'all stay safe. Be got to another. Well, deuces.